Welcome to All Basket Games. I'm Geralf and this is Wendil. And we're going through games that we played in the 2021. And next on our game list is, well, the basket is empty. So it's a digital game.
We don't have the physical version whatsoever.
Actually, I don't think a physical version. Well, I'd like to say that a physical version doesn't exist, but actually, so we're going to talk about a game called Wingspan, and the version we played is digital, but the game actually, I think it's based on a physical, like a card game or like a board card game combination. So yeah, that's how I understood. So it was originally a physical card game. And yeah, the version we played was digital. And basically, it's a game where, well, it's, how do you say it? It's not like a resource management game, but I guess it sort of is.
It has elements of it.
Yeah.
You have to expand your repertoire.
Yeah. So basically, you're like making a bird sanctuary, so to say. I don't remember what the game, what term the game uses, but basically you have like three areas. So you have a forest, you have the grasslands, and then you have like it's not a beach sort of, or like a lake or whatever, a water area. And so you try to build those areas, put as many birds in there as possible, and manage that habitat. So that's the basic premise of the game. So mostly I have been playing the game, and I haven't even played all that much. I think around 10 hours at this point. Well, I guess that's all right time, I guess. But yeah, I showed you a little bit of the game, like one game against two AI opponents, just to give you like a quick rundown on how the game works and if it's like easy to understand and so on. And yeah, that's because that's what I was sort of concerned about, that I don't think the game is all that easy to understand.
It seemed very complicated. If you would have put me on the player's seat and made me play it and figure it out on my own, I would have been stuck immediately. You wouldn't know what to do without a tutorial. But again, it's a card game, so it's pretty much a requirement that you read the manual to know the instructions or the rules of the game.
Yeah.
But when you played it and you also stopped and described what you're gonna do and what you can do at your turn, then it started to click pretty easily. So even though it's complicated, it's kind of very logical game.
Yeah.
As far as I understood the rules.
And in the same lieu, I think that even though I showed you and I explained a lot of things to you, I think I explained pretty much everything in the game. But if I put you to play after me, like let's see how much you can remember, I think you would still get probably stuck at some points. And in fact, when I showed the game to you, there's been, I mean, these are games that I played in this case in 2021, which was, so I think I last played many months ago. And you could see that there were some scenarios where I kind of got stuck looking at the UI, and I'm like, okay, there's like an X and a V, and in a certain, there's like an option, and I was like, do I have the courage to press this X? Like, is that going to cause something that I can't like take back that option or something? But after we sort of understood what it meant, then okay, there's a third button here that is basically the sort of like accept this situation, and the X and the Y, not Y, the V was just, you know, are you planning to use this like an ability that this bird has? Then after that it was much easier to understand. But so basically, yeah, the game looks really nice, and they put a lot of effort into the UI and the gaming elements. But there are still something that they're not clear in the first place. But once you understand them, then everything is more or less like consistent. In that, if you learn something, then it's going to work the same in every situation.
Yeah.
So that's very good. One thing that I really like about this game is that, first of all, it's not an education game, but you still, I mean, this is a game I think that is one of the best examples of how you can do like a game that teaches you something really, really well. Because in the game, like, you have these cards that represent the birds, and in every card you have information about the bird, and I'm probably going to put one of the examples right here. So for example, in our last game at the very beginning, we took Cooper's hawk as one of our like starting birds, and in the card at the top left corner there's the areas that they can inhabit. And in the Cooper's hawk's case, I think it was the forest. So you can only put that bird in the forest, and it immediately tells you that, you know, okay, this is a bird that probably inhabits mostly the forest areas. And below that, well, there's the food requirement. So if you want to play that card, then you have to have certain kind of food in order to play that card. And in Cooper's hawk, I think it was probably a mouse. So
Only mice, I think.
yeah, so that immediately tells you, okay, most likely, like, birds eat a lot of things. So most likely the bird eats something else as well. But it immediately tells you that, okay, Cooper's hawk, it's a carnivore, right? Because there's a mouse there. It's a requirement. And below there, I think there's like a score, how much points you get if you played the bird. So that doesn't really teach you anything other than this bird is valuable or not. But the next thing there on the card is the nest type. So basically what kind of a nest the bird builds, or basically what kind of a nest the bird lives in. And there's different types. There's like the Cooper's hawk, I think the icon means that it makes like a nest out of like big twigs or like big sticks. And there's other types like holes. They can be holes in the tree, or like a birdhouse type of nest. And then there's like a small cup nest and stuff like that. But immediately, like, it tells you what kind of nest the bird lives in. And then there's the wingspan. So that gives you an idea how big the bird is. And Cooper's hawk, I don't remember the exact wingspan, but I remember that it was bigger than 100 centimeters. And I remember that because at the start of the game we took this like one bonus card that gives us bonuses the more large birds we have. And we picked Cooper's hawk as one of the candidates because it's a large bird. So it gives us bonuses at the end of the game. And then after that in the card there's an activation effect. For some birds it's like when you play the card, then it happens once. And in the Cooper's hawk's case it's an activation. So if you have the Cooper's hawk in a forest and you take like feed in the forest, then that bird activates. And in Cooper's hawk's case the activation is that you basically like, as I mentioned, this is used to be a card game, so imagine that you have like a deck pile somewhere that has all the rest of the bird cards that nobody has picked up yet. So you pick a card there randomly and you turn it around, And if it's a bird that has a wingspan less than 75 centimeters, so saying that it's a smaller type of bird, then you put it behind the Cooper's hawk and you get a point. And that's a very roundabout way of saying that the Cooper's hawk basically eats the smaller bird. So as we already knew from the feed type, that it's a carnivore, so it doesn't just eat mice, it also eats smaller birds, at least. And finally, at the bottom of the card, you have these egg-shaped images. So that tells you how many eggs you can put on the bird. And that sort of tells you about the clutch size. So basically how many eggs the bird usually has during their mating season. And they range, I think, from 1 to 6 in the game. There may be some bird that even has a 0. I can't really remember. But obviously some birds can have more eggs than 6. But it gives you like this vague image of how many eggs these birds can have. So if a bird can have 6 eggs, then it means that they usually have a really large clutch size. And if it's only like 1 or 2, then they usually only lay a couple of eggs. So all of that is information about the bird, but it's not just, random trivia that you get. That's all gameplay. That's all game elements. And the reason, so as I mentioned, I have the card probably here, but since we last played, I didn't look at the Cooper's Hawk card, so I may have gotten something wrong, but also this is all information that I remembered just from our last playthrough. So, or actually just playing just one game, card game, and that all stuck into my mind because it's all gameplay. This is all relevant to the game, all this information, because you need to remember, or it's very easy to remember where you put the bird in which area, and it's easy to remember the activation effect, because for us Cooper's Hawks in that game, he was the MVP of that game. That's at the end of the game you get a calculated score against the AI, and we were really close with one other AI, but because the Cooper's Hawk ate so many small birds, that's why we actually won the game. So it was great. And all those things you really remember because they are tied to the gameplay.
All this was trying to say that all that information from the game translates pretty well to the real life application of. You didn't mention it has also the picture of the bird. You can also recognize the bird. Probably that's not the part that stuck to my head. What exactly are the characteristics? But the gameplay elements, you are right, they stuck very well in your head, and it's something you carry with you for the rest of your life now. That little trivia. And that's the best part of learning something from your games. That's what you've always written in your blogs and told me also. We've been discussing this a lot of times, that the best education games give that little bit of, it makes you think, it puts something into the back of your head, and then it just jumps out of there when you encounter that's the situation or the class, mathematics class, or in this case biology class, that maybe covers some predator birds, and the Cooper's Hawk just springs out of your memory. Oh, I remember this. I have this, I have an idea of this bird and its characteristics.
And it's important that, of course, this isn't even supposed to be like a detailed description of the bird. it's just like small tidbits and like small information that you retain, and that's the important part. Like I think the best education games, or not education games, but the best games that really teach you something, indeed they don't try to be like too detailed. They don't try to teach you everything about some certain subject. They just try to get you interested.
Yeah, the general idea.
Yeah. And this not only really gives you the general idea, but it really sticks with you because they are indeed tied to the gameplay elements.
Yeah, but the most educational part of the game is when, well, in the settings you can put the game tell you whenever you play a bird card, a voice will tell you a little trivia of the bird.
Vaux Swift. William Sansom Vaux was a wealthy mineralogist and naturalist.
That's most of the biggest education part.
Yeah.
That's straight up trivia. And I don't remember what we didn't hear it.
Yeah. We didn't
Because
hear
it's
about that.
only
trivia.
when you play it first time ever in your game, then
Yeah.
it tells you the trivia part.
Yeah. That's actually a nice little thing about the game as well, because as Vandil said, so you can change this in the settings, but by default, the first time you play any bird on the field, then you get like a voiced line of a little bit of trivia about the bird. And not only is it like a nice bit of trivia, but also it tells you that you never played this bird before. So it helps you with understanding that I never played this bird before, so there's like a gallery of birds that you played in the game, so you got a new bird added there. So basically, as we talked about, the basic premise of the game is making that bird sanctuary. So one big part of the game, which I kept complaining to Vandil about all the time, was like every turn seems pretty short, which I guess it's not a bad thing, but it feels kind of strange if you're used to playing any other card games, I guess. Like so as we said, it's a resource management game in a sense, so you have to manage between like picking up new bird cards and putting them into place, and then putting eggs around and using those eggs so that you can play more bird cards. And then there's also the bird feeder, which is in the forest, where you're like picking up all these food stuff that you need for your birds. And everything you do takes up one turn, and sure, there's a lot of turns, I guess like something like 30 or so in total, but still, like, if you have a bird card in your hand and you're just thinking, okay, I want to play this, so first you need to go to the feeder and you need to pick some food, and okay, that was one turn, and then you're like, okay, I don't have enough food for this, so you use another turn to pick up more food, and then you're okay, I don't have eggs, so I need to pick up eggs and put them on those two birds, and okay, now I can play, so that's the fourth turn already, and now you're playing the bird card.
Yeah, but you mentioned it was originally a physical card game, or is.
Yeah.
So maybe it has something to do with the fastness of the game, because it really streamlines if it's in a digital form. You don't have to take note of any of the details, what your birds do and what you need to do next. The game takes care of all the calculations and whose turn it is anyway, and all those. So maybe in the original game it was more slow paced, because at least according to this game there's 3 players at the same time playing on their own boards.
Yeah, I think the maximum amount of players in the digital version is 5. I think so. There can even be that many players.
Yeah.
Maybe so.
Yeah, so maybe the digital format is just makes the game more fast paced because of its origin as a physical game where you can have 5 players.
Yeah.
Because after one turn, it's the next person's turn, and they so it makes really much sense that you make one turn and you have the time to think, and the others do their moves, because in this game the AIs are pretty fast with their decisions.
Yeah. And I guess that's good because, like, overall, it means that the game doesn't take that long. I mean, to finish one game. We didn't really time how long it took for us, but was probably something like 20 minutes, maybe.
It's very manageable,
Yeah,
nice, quick game.
yeah. And well, I guess we didn't mention this, but we don't have all that much experience with card games in general. I have played a lot of Hearthstone, and well, we played some bit of Munchkin
Yeah, Munchkin.
with our
And
friends.
Cosmic
Yeah,
Encounter.
the Cosmic Encounters.
Yeah.
And I guess we tried that Gloom game once.
yeah.
And but yeah, not all that much experience with card games.
Good variety,
Yeah,
all things considered. Yeah, but when compared to those, I think it has a very nice pace. It's not taking too long, not like some Monopoly King game or anything.
yeah.
And I saw there was some kind of custom game part. I wonder how much you can customize your games. Can you put more turns or something?
Yeah, I don't think you can increase the turns.
But there's some form of customizability
Yeah.
in there.
There was a little bit like I think like the point system. You can change the point system, like if it's more or less competitive. And I guess that's another good thing about the game, is that it's well, pretty relaxing by itself, because you're not okay. So there is like a point system, and there are bonus systems, but that's it. You're not directly like trying to sabotage the other players or anything like that. Or well, I guess in a sense, like every time you go check the water area or the water habitat area, then you can see there's 3 cards, and if you know that there's another player who is specifically, say, looking for large birds, then you can sort of nab a large bird from there if you see one. So in that sense, I guess you can sort of try to sabotage, but not directly. So you're not really attacking any other players. So you're just mostly focusing on your great bird sanctuary and just trying to make it better and getting as many points for yourself as much as you can. And in the end, you just compare it with the other players and see how it went. And the music is really calm and relaxing, so it's nice.
And the birds have little animations that
Yeah.
are pretty nice. And voices or the sounds, bird sounds are there according to what birds you've played on your board.
Yeah,
It was very nice to watch also and play along, kind of, and see how the game goes. So it is a pretty relaxing time. Very perfect game for some, moment of relaxation. You've had a rough day and want just relax a bit on your couch.
Yeah.
So maybe take this night Wingspan game out on your Switch and play it on your couch for 20 minutes.
especially nice if you're a bird lover. Like, well, we really like birds ourselves.
And that's one question I really wondering. Would you have ever considered getting this game if not for the birds?
Mm,
Because that's, I'd wager that's the only reason why you even or we even noticed the game
Yeah.
because it has birds in it. I don't even remember where we saw it the first time.
Yeah, I don't
Or did
remember
you
either.
Get it, or was it on some Twitter feed or somewhere?
I have no idea, but yeah, probably I wouldn't have even thought about it if it, like, let's say if it was about dogs. We don't care about dogs that much, so that probably wouldn't have gotten us to buy the game.
I said on Switch, but was it on?
It is on Switch as well. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because you played it on PC.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, and well, obviously, it tells about we have this webcomic Realm of Owls, so that also says a lot about our liking of birds and especially owls, which is probably my, like, I don't know, maybe like biggest complaint about this game is that the owls are animated a little bit weirdly. In that, you know, if you look at a real life owl, they're usually like mostly like turning their head like this, and aside from that, they're just staying very still, except for some exceptions like burrowing owls, which do like to go up and down a lot. But the owls in this game are animated to very much, you know, not stay still all the time, which looked a bit weird, but it's still cute, so it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, and this game also has some DLC or expansions.
Yeah.
You said.
Yeah, I guess it's coming. It's not out yet. I don't know about the physical board game, but there's well, actually something we noticed when we looked at the gallery of birds was that it seems that every single bird in the game or in the base game seems to be, you know, from America, or at least it may also be common in all around the world, but every bird is common in North America that's in the game, or so it seemed. But there's apparently like a European expansion coming, so I guess there's going to be more birds from Europe.
Would you be willing to buy that expansion?
Well, as I mentioned, I've only played like 10 hours. We'll have to see what birds it has, but like it already feels like the base game still has a lot of gameplay to offer.
Yeah, because I'm wondering if the expansion will bring any new gameplay elements also, or is it only more Pokemon to your Pokédex?
Yeah.
Because if it is, then I'm very down for that. That it's only new cards for your deck to play with, and nothing else. So it's not obligatory by any means, or mandatory in any means.
Yeah. And I almost wish that it doesn't like change the gameplay in any way, because as I mentioned, there's a lot of details in every card, and that means that the game is somewhat complicated already. So if they're trying to add more stuff into it, then it's going to get even more complicated. And I guess that's good for like people who have played the game for a long time, but for everybody else, it's a little rough, I think. So in that sense, I hope it's not adding any new gameplay elements, unless there's like some, I guess, simplified version. Maybe that might work, but definitely not more complications.
If I had more time in my life and needed some card game in my life, so the Wingspan might be pretty nice. Because I don't really like very simple games. They are fun, like the good old Windows patience games were very fun, but I usually like it if it has some kind of complicated or some more intrinsic elements in it. So you don't just put down your cards and hope you are lucky in your game. it's more of a strategic mind, or it takes more of a strategy to excel at the game. So it seemed like that kind of game that I would really enjoy to play more if I really wanted a card game in my life.
Something that requires that you think a little and strategize a little, and like I guess that's one good thing actually about the game itself, that you can just go into it more or less blind, and as long as you understand the basic mechanics, then you don't have to be perfect. You can just, slowly work to play your birds and enjoy having them around. And then of course you're probably not going to beat the opponent, but at least you had fun like playing your birds and seeing what birds there are and what are their effects and so on.
You can completely ignore the competitive part of the game. That's true.
Yeah, just enjoy your bird sanctuary. It's a beautiful game and a beautiful sounding game and very relaxing. And I guess there's online multiplayer available as well, but I haven't tried it myself. I did check it out enough that it seems like you can sort of change the rules a little bit in the online lobby. Like you can have your turns last, like was it 12 hours or 24 hours or something like that. So basically you can do your turn and then just press end turn, and then your opponent, maybe they live on the other side of the planet, so they're going to wake up in like 8 hours, and they can wake up, and before they go to school they can check the game and be like, oh okay, it's my turn, okay, I'll do this, and they can press end turn, and then you can carry on with your turn whenever you want.
That's very interesting, because I always think when I start a game, I really need to finish it at the same sitting. But that's really good aspect of any digitalized card game, that you could make moves and of course play against anyone around the world. That's very intriguing. I really like that idea.
It almost reminds me of like the good old like mail chess. Like you would write what your move is on a letter and then physically like send it on a mail to your friend. And they would wait for it for like a week, and then they'd get it and send it back.
So it does have some kind of time limit to your turn.
Yeah, I think... It
wasn't very apparent while you played it.
Yeah, I don't, in the single player I don't think it has.
Yeah.
But in the online game you can set how long the player can have to make their turn.
Yeah, because that's one thing I really wanted to point out also, that you don't have to hurry with your turns.
Yeah.
That's part of the relaxing part of the game, that you can take your time, especially against the AI opponents.
Yeah, and I actually think, I'm not completely sure about this, but I actually think you can even like quit out from the game, and it'll probably save your like game progress, so you can continue the game. Probably I'll have to check that out, but once again, because especially if you're playing against AI, it doesn't really matter how long your turn takes, because computers don't care. Only people care about you taking really long with your turns. So in that sense it would make sense. But yeah, that's a good addition, and that you can indeed play your turn for as long as you want, and it does add to the relaxiness, of course. Like because the game is a little bit complicated, I think it does at times get a little bit hectic, because I don't know, at least for me, like the longer I do something, my brain starts to get like hazy, and then I'm trying to think like all these combinations and stuff, and like brain isn't working. But at least you have all the time in the world to do that, so
Okay, the online aspect was way better than I thought. I wonder how many other digitalized games or turn-based games have that kind of ability, that you could kind of play months on end a single game against the other player.
Yeah, I don't actually know.
Yeah, it's very interesting gameplay mechanic to have.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was our review of Wingspan. And if you like birds, we definitely suggest it. It's a fun and relaxing game. And once again, even if you like personally, I don't really like card games that much myself. As we mentioned, we played a few, and like the reason, like I played a lot of Hearthstone in my time, but that's because I don't really consider Hearthstone a card game. It's more like I don't know what it is, but it feels like the characters are physical tokens, and this like spell cards, they actually turn into spells when you throw them, and so on. So that doesn't feel like a card game. But yeah, even if you don't play a lot of card games, it is a little bit complicated, but it's a lot of fun, and you can take your time to learn the mechanics, and there's no pressure, no anything. It's a fun game, and it has a lot of fun birds, and they're singing and dancing around after you play them, so it's fun.
Yeah, very wholesome game.
Yes, very much such that you're getting it. And if you played the game, if we forget anything, if you have anything to say, please leave comments down there. And we've been Gerolf and Vandil from the Owl Basket. Thank you for watching.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.